Hey everybody. This is your friendly neighborhood Upgood, also known as Keith, also known as Bob. Well, actually not really known as Bob, but anyways. Why am I on my webcam and not showing the desktop? Because it's after the weekend, and the reason I wasn't on yesterday is because my dad had an appointment. I took the day off. We were home at around 2, so technically I could have been on here, but it would have been later in the day and stuff. So, anyways, it kind of it corresponds okay to to the the streams I have left. So, my dad was going to have appointments on tomorrow and no, wait, today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, today, today and tomorrow, but they were canceled. So that means I have the rest of the week to finish out the week, and it just so happens that this corresponds to my 200th stream, which will be on Friday. So then, as per usual, I would take a week off, and during that week, I'll probably be contemplating whether or not I'm going to be streaming from here on out. Because, whoa, look at all that stuff. Oh, you're not seeing that. That's right, because I haven't switched to desktop yet. Oh, don't worry about that update manager stuff. Anyways, okay. So, anyways, what I was saying was is so yeah, I'm still contemplating whether or not I'm going to continue the streams. I'm still thinking I kind of want to, but I need to change it up somehow to get people maybe more interested in coming in here. Uh, Now I have three. It looks like there's three in there now, and there was there was four, and it usually fluctuates between three and four. Sometimes it goes up to five and six, especially in part two when doing my code, because more really the developers I know are more interested in code, and anybody else probably when they first look at this they probably don't even know what they're looking at, and even if they do know what they're looking at, they're probably bored out of their gourd. So yeah, so I'm thinking that there's got to be a way I could change this up, or a way I can speed this up, or um, can I still um, can I maybe offline some of this boring story work that people don't care that much about, and but still be kind of true to my original vision, or I don't know if you call it a vision, but my original idea, which was to show you everything, everything about everything, even if it was going to be boring. Originally, it was I wasn't even going to stream, and then some of you guys, a couple of you guys, suggested I stream, anyways. And I figured, well, since I'm doing it anyways, since I'm going to record it anyways, I was going to at least record it so I can make some devlogs later. I still haven't really figured out how to make a devlog properly yet. I mean, it takes ages and ages to like comb through stuff, and you're kind of like, well, how do I know what the right things to record are? In other words, I might be doing the story stuff. Let's not talk about the story stuff, because that's all the same stuff each time, and I could pick a few random moments and probably be fine. What type of appointment? It was uh, a doctor's appointment, um, Crasher. So uh, oh, Crasher Hole Studios. That makes more sense, I guess. Well, I guess that Crasher Hole is still your nick or something, your screen name, or I don't know what they call them these days. It was a handle back in old BBS days, because that was off of ham radio. The name handle is off of CB radio and shortwave radio, ham radio. Um, and then later it was your nickname. AOL was screen name, and I guess it's still a nickname in IRC. So, anyways, username, whatever. Oh. Yeah, and the laptop keyboards are a little bit smaller. Crasher is good. Okay, cool. So yeah, it was just a doctor's appointment. My dad has health issues being in the 70s, um so yeah, he goes to the doctor quite a bit, I guess. But anyways, so I'll be streaming the rest of the week. Okay. So back to what I was saying, the I still don't know how to properly do a devlog really because like I said, I for instance, I would record my several hours of working onto my hard disk, and then I have to wade through all of it just to be able to put like a abridged kind of like devlog together, an update, and that just takes forever. And I know that's why a lot of people have dedicated editors, but maybe not necessarily solo devs. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Um, but so I'm kind of going, well, how do you do the thing? I get like if you're a streamer, a gaming streamer, and hey, let's switch this to desktop anyways. Regardless, you probably don't want to see my face in the screen, but let's the gaming streamers, they'll do something and it'll be like this huge moment, whatever. I'm not saying that whatever they do is huge or whatever, but some impossible trick or maybe a clean headshot or maybe a number of kills or and it doesn't even have to be that kind of game, but um, they're memorable moments in the game, right? That are memorable or significant to you, let's say. And you probably have the actual hardware equipment, little deck, a little thing that has buttons, so you can instantly like capture things that you want to capture on the spur of the moment. And then they usually have a like a pre-record, like a I think OBS has this too, but where it records the last whatever 30 seconds or a minute or something, um, um, like over itself basically, where uh, where it's like a rolling last 30 seconds. So if you did something in 30 seconds ago and you hit the button, it'll save it to disk. And so that's how you can capture moments. And I think I could probably do that even with development. Um, but development's a little bit harder to do that because you don't have a series of moments. Um, you might have a moment, like something wasn't working for a long time, and then suddenly you got it working or whatever. So it's a lot harder to do that with like coding and basically game development to have actually moments, you know. So you're gonna want to like record the whole process and then go back and edit the significant points. Maybe you're doing it tutorial style where you say, well, let's do this, this, and this, and then you type it out. And then when you go back to edit it, you're basically cutting out the silences. You're cutting out things where you're not actually entering in the code or whatever, you know. So it's like this kind of long, tedious process, and it could easily take more time than the actual game development. And even though my big deal is streaming or recording or whatever. My big deal is the YouTube aspect of developing the game. The developing the game is still the most important, right? So the YouTube video stuff is secondary. Maybe not less important, but maybe uh, the same importance to me. To me, the same importance, or almost the same importance, right? So I don't want to do too much stuff that's not actually working on the game. Other than me, prattling on here and wasting time. But so let's see. Okay, so um, I still want to spend time on the game, and I still want to show you everything that I do. But if that everything is boring, and if that everything is kind of the same day in and day out, uh, like I've already shown my process. I'm almost up to 200 dev streams now, and then so let's see. That's almost a little over half a year, anyways. Or not half a year, 200, 365 days. So it's not quite two-thirds. It's more like it would be like 5/6 or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's right. Two-thirds is 4/6, I guess. I think two-thirds, 4/6, 5/6. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, it's a good chunk of the year. So um, anyways, so if I continue doing the same thing over and over again, even if it's a different part of the story, then you've already seen, if you've seen any one of my streams or a couple of them, maybe you need a few of them just to get the full idea of how I do things. Um, then after that, you don't really need to see anything else because I do the same thing over and over again. At the same time, maybe you're going, well, I like this part of the game. I like this little joke here, or I like this, the way this character, or this, I like this part. It looks like it'll be, fun to read or fun to play or whatever. Um, and then you might want to know, well, how did you come up with this one? Even if you did use a process, you talked with the AI, then you come up with several ideas in your head and you think about them and blah blah blah, and then you add them and so on and so forth. So I'm like, so if I stop now, in other words, if I don't record, or if I don't stream or record this, the rest of the process for the whole game, the rest of the game, and I'm only about like 20% done with these pages here, so it's still, I got a long ways. So if I were to kind of do less online, more offline, um, then it would probably still be an okay place to do it because I'm not so far in. If I was at least halfway in or over halfway, I'd be really contemplating. No, I got to continue doing this because I've come this far, but I haven't really gotten that far, even though I've done a lot of work. So, anyways, um, so yeah, so here, let's go over to here. Let's bring up my notes. Recent. Um, so I'm on the fence as to whether I keep thinking that I should just continue to do this, and even if it takes a year or it takes a super long amount of time to finish it, because then at least I'll have like I have this um I'll have this kind of record, right, of everything that went on, right? So that in the future I could like potentially could go back and I could make a, let's say, make a documentary, right? Not the updates and stuff, but something that's professional looking. If I have all of the footage, then I could probably get somebody that does editing for a living that I could pay, that assuming I had the money but at that time, to actually go through all this hours and hours and hours of footage to actually come up with a documentary that looks professional and sound and gives you like a good idea. So so I'm still on the fence. I'm still on the fence going, should I just continue doing what I'm doing? And I know I've been complaining a lot lately about not getting a lot done and thus wasting some time and still not getting a lot done because I'm taking up the time talking. This is off of a weekend. This is off of a day off that I had yesterday. So, so for the next 3 days, I shouldn't be doing this talking. Shouldn't be spending this 30 minutes. I'll probably be just working on the game. But so yeah. Um, so I'm still kind of on the fence of whether I should continue or whether I should not continue. I mean, I'll still be making the game, and I'll still be probably making updates somehow. But whether or not I should just stop streaming it. So yeah, I'm not sure. But and then the other thing is maybe I could figure out a way of making this part more interesting. If I do that, uh, it'll be like a lot more like drawing and noodling around and whatever, searching, and I don't know. It'd be a lot more stuff that does visual, but that means I'll probably get less of my game done. I mean, I guess if I, instead of doing AI, I switch to, now I don't wholly take ideas from AI. You kind of know that if you watch any of my deals. I usually use my own ideas. Occasionally there's a really good idea because the AIs, ChatGPT especially, even better than Grok, is able to be creative. I mean, it really is able to do creative stuff, coming up with jokes and puns and whatever. And it's kind of amazing, really, if you think about it. You know, sure, it can do all the PhD stuff, and sure, when you get it to write you a script, it does the same things, and then you can tell when they wrote a script with AI, even if it's a real person doing it in a YouTube video. They like repeat things. They say it's not just this, it's this, you know, and here's the kicker, and it's got certain phrases that the AI does, you know, that makes it sound AI, makes it sound, um, you know, even if before that would have been okay to do writing wise because you'd be doing it organically and you wouldn't be doing it all the time. You wouldn't be repeating yourself a lot and whatever. But there's certain things, and so I always got to get mad at AI videos basically, or yeah, because partly because of the scripts and then partly because some of the AI voices aren't that great. And other times the AI completely surprises me. It says a joke or something or an idea, and it's a totally great idea that I never thought of or never would have thought of. So I occasionally use those, but I don't. If you know me, I don't use the AI exclusively. I use AI a lot, but I don't use its ideas exclusively. I have my own ideas that I want. Sometimes I want it to come up with stuff, you know, bounce ideas off of, which is really great with what the AI is really great for, is bouncing ideas. But ultimately, I like the game to come from me, not from made up from the AI itself. So, but maybe I should slow down on using the AI, not because I'm copying it, but just because it's not that interesting to have see me just have a conversation and then go and write down stuff because um, it might not be that interesting, right? There's nothing visual really. It's just text. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great at doing that. So as long as you don't really copy exactly what the AI gives you, and you're using it for ideas, and maybe an occasional thing you can copy, but for the most part you don't do that. It's actually a really really good tool. I mean, it really works. It's like the rubber duck debugging. The idea with rubber duck debugging is you get a rubber duck or a stuffed animal or an inanimate object even. You talk to it like you would a person, and then you can usually sort out your thoughts when you're talking to someone. But with the AI, it acts more like a person, and so it's really good at talking back to you like a person would. So that makes it even maybe even better than talking to like a stuffed animal or an inanimate object or a picture or something. because it can give you feedback. Anywho, so maybe I should start doing like the mind mapping and whatever. What they used to call that. The brainstorming, anyways, where you do the you do the bubbles and you write in ideas and then you do the dillies and then you branch them off and you say, well, think about this and blah blah blah. I mean, maybe I should do that more. I don't really know how to do that properly, but I think it's not really that hard to do that. The kind of brainstorming techniques. I could go look that up and then I could actually use them on stream, and maybe that would make it a little bit more interesting. I don't really know how to speed it up though, because I'll still run into the same things. I'll go kind of go, okay, so I have all these ideas. Oh, this is the best one. This is the best one. Okay, but what about this? What if it's like what I was saying. You might not even have seen it, but the other day about getting into Princess Prep and how there's a back window that you're going to get through, but there's also a front door that you can't get through. And so I was kind of going, well, what would make you go to the back door and not go to the front door? Well, I mean, if you're playing it, if you're reading it, whatever, you're gonna want to go to the back door. I mean, or the front door. You're gonna want to try the front door, maybe first, maybe not first, because maybe the way you're reading it, But I think the first thing you think of any building is a front door. You don't think of the back door, right? So and it's not a back door; it's a window in the back, but it's the similar kind of thing. So so I had to think of okay, so they try it, it's locked. They go to the back, they see the back is boarded up, um, and so you need to find a tool or something to be able to open up, pull the boards off the windows. So, but you see a groundskeeper shed, which is something that you might have on a college campus, college whatever grounds, and so you go there and it's locked with a padlock. You need something to pick the lock, and you back over to the boards, and then you notice there's a loose nail. Take the loose nail, go in it, pick the lock, then get the pry bar, but then instead of going to the window and prying the wooden boards off the windows, you might be tempted to go to the front, because why? Everybody goes in through the front door. They don't really go through like a window or anything, you know. Now, adventure gamers would probably go, this is the more complicated deal, so this is probably the thing to do. So they might not go back to the front door, but most people would actually go to the front door. And so you got to still be able to say, well, no, you can't go through the front door. You have to go through the back window. So I had to think of, okay, so what's plausible about this? How does that work? Well, maybe they have those old bars, the lock bars, so that they have like old like in medieval movies and basically back in olden times when they didn't have a physical lock, like a metal lock like we have, uh, they would put a bar in front of the door so that you could not push open the doors. It would block that. And so I was thinking, okay, well, I guess that's a good way of doing it. And then later on, might have to explain it. Might have to have somebody mention that the door is barred from the inside and you couldn't get through. Or it could be that your character actually tells you, breaking the fourth wall, says, you're not going to be able to go through there. They bar those from the inside. I mean, it could be something like that. So, anyways, the point of the thing is that you have to think of all these things. If you ever watch a movie and everything you watch on screen is pre-made, premeditated. Now, don't get me wrong. There are accidents that happen that remain on camera because they liked it or whatever. Something happens unexpected, something wrong or whatever that doesn't occur to the script. There's people that ad lib. There's stuff like that. So I'm not saying it's 100% sticks to the plan 100%. Because you get obstacles and then you have to work around those obstacles. But for the most part, everything you see is um, premeditated. So if you have, if the, okay, so I'm a Christian, and um, sex scenes are pretty much offensive to me. Firstly, just because I don't like seeing people humping on screen. I'm sorry, I like beautiful women, naked women too, or whatever. I like looking at them, but I don't like seeing two people getting it on screen. I just don't, especially on the big screen and you're in the theater. Or my TV is fairly large, so on my big TV, right? I don't like I don't like watching that, you know. Um, so so the stuff on there you find offensive, that you personally find offensive. Maybe you like all kinds of movies. It doesn't really matter to you. You don't have like a moral code or anything like that. I'm not I'm not arguing about what's right or wrong. I'm just saying for me, there's stuff that I find objectionable that even though I still watch them sometimes, probably shouldn't. Um, I'll still be watching a movie, and I have to watch that. Now, they want to make movies, and they want to make you think that everything that they do is organic. So you have a love story, and soon they're kissing, and then they're in bed together, and they have to think all that out. It has to be all premeditated. So everything they show, every single dang thing, every piece of yeah, delay, yeah. Uh, Yeah, we can do the fourth wall thing, but this choose your own adventure phase is a phase, and so I won't be doing any of that until we actually get to the maybe until the regular text parser version. But anyways, I digress. So, anyways, anything you find objectionable on the screen that you don't think should be there is never organic. It's never by accident. Like I said, occasionally there's somebody that ad libs a line. There's a mistake that they have to remove in post, or somebody hits their head and like and then they leave it in, or something that's so funny that messes up. So I'm not saying that every single solitary thing that goes in a movie was pre-planned to be in there, but most everything that you have in there is pre-planned. Okay, and so uh, the same thing kind of goes with games, right? Especially if you're trying to do like a realistic world. If you're doing an RPG, or if you're just doing a straight up adventure game, point and click, you have to put everything in there. You have to think of everything logically, and you have to do kind of you gotta have to do like a mind MacGyver, basically, where you got go in and say, okay, I'm in, I'm locked into this utility shed, but I have a welding tool, and there's a bulldozer over there in the corner, and so what do I do? I cut some metal pieces off of something, and then I strap them to the bulldozer so that it has some armor, and then use the bulldozer to punch through the doors of the shed, and or the barn, whatever, and and then the bad guys shoot at you. So you have to kind of go in your mind, like in one of the episodes of MacGyver, the old '80s version. I mean, the Richard Dean Anderson one, um, where you kind of go, okay, so what's the problem he's trying to solve here? You know, um, I think in the first episode of MacGyver, there was it was like a tank or something that something had malfunctioned or something, and it was like leaking acid or something, or about ready to explode, or it was leaking anyways. It'd be toxic, and so one of MacGyver's first ideas was to take a chocolate bar, a candy bar, and somehow patch it over the hole, because there was. Now, I'm probably simplifying this because I've only seen it a couple of times in my life, and I don't remember it perfectly. But basically, the idea was that there was a chemical reaction with the chocolate and whatever was inside the tank that eventually made an effective like barrier, right? And so when you're writing something like that, you kind of go, okay, we have this tank here, and what else do we have here? What? Okay, so the problem is this tank is leaking, and it's very dangerous, and you only have a few minutes to fix it before it gets flooded with dangerous gas or something. What do you do? And so I'm sure a bunch of guys around a table, I'll start pitching in ideas, and then one person says, well, I know that there's chemicals in chocolate that you could put in there that would act as like a catalyst, and it would like change it, and it would bind to the whatever was in the tank, and then it would form this kind of this hard shield, and you know, it's like that. So I have to think that way is when I'm just writing my stuff. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember exactly. You have to watch it. It's the first episode of MacGyver, the 1980. It's like 1984, I think, that it came out. Maybe it was later than that. But the first episode of the old '80s MacGyver series, he does something like that. In fact, I could probably look it up. Um, Maybe I could look it up. Let's see. Let's ask Grok here. Um, I know I'm not doing any work here, right? So there's not going to be new people coming in, but you guys that are watching or listening just know how I am, and so you're kind of okay with it. But okay. So in the first episode of MacGyver from the '80s, starring Richard Dean Anderson. Um, um, if well, maybe just well, it might be just in the first season. I can't remember now. Because that's right. The first season was a terrorist thing. No, okay, so not the first episode. In a first season episode of MacGyver, um, MacGyver uses a chocolate bar to seal up a leak in some sort of tank or something. Let's see. What episode was that, and what actually happened in that episode? Okay. Oh, no, it is in the pilot episode, though. So I was right. It was right. It was actually in the pilot. No, I'm actually using Linux Mint right now. I've switched completely. Around the time that I started this, around we'll say November of 2024. Anyways, like several months ago now in 2024, I think. Yeah, November 2024. So almost a year now. That's funny to think about. Uh, I bought a new drive, a terabyte NVMe SSD, and I dual booted with Windows 10 because I was using Windows 10 at the time. I was using LMDE, which is Linux Mint Debian Edition 6, and so eventually I got around to wiping the drive, and now I reinstalled Mint because LMDE 6 I couldn't easily update the NVIDIA drivers, so I couldn't use a lot of the newest stuff. And now that I'm switched to Mint, which you can update on LMD6, you can update the NVIDIA drivers, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to do it. Um, Anyways, I'm on Linux Mint regular now, the newest version of Linux Mint here. Yeah, I mean it works just like Windows, and it's got everything that I pretty much use is like open source. The only thing that I can do is probably some games, and I haven't actually played games in a while. I'm gonna see if I can somehow get Halo Master Chief Collection running here in Linux because I have it on Steam. So I have a feeling that it's got whatever Proton or whatever it is. I forget what it's called. But I'll see if I can get that working. But other than that, a lot of the games work anyways. A lot of the games I like to play are old games, so I can use DOSBox or whatever, that sort of thing. So it's not a big deal. Um, yeah. So Windows 11 has the Copilot. They have the recall. Supposedly they weren't going to put it in, but I think they do it. They still do it, or something, or they decided to put it back in or something. Anyways, yeah, you're gonna have to upgrade to some services where they basically can take all your information. They can take snapshots of your computer, that sort of thing. It's even more than the telemetry back in Windows 10. And they are, but they can be made to run. Wine, which I think it stands for Windows Emulator. It's not really an emulator. Um, it has it's basically there's a like a translation layer because it's the same kind of computer. So Wine takes like Windows commands and like translates them into Linux commands so that it runs on Linux. So it's not actually an emulator, and it's supposed to be pretty good. And then of course Steam, they have they're using like that new Proton thing, which is supposed to be it's supposed to be some sort of deal that helps you be able to play like Windows games on Linux. So there's a lot of good compatibility in it in over the years. So there isn't a lot of games that don't run on Linux anymore that are actual Windows games, but there's still a few, and it's still not like 100% or whatever. I don't know. It depends on if they have a Hollow Knight version, but if it's through Steam, then there's a good chance that you'll be able to play it in Linux. You know, you install it in Linux, but there's a good chance if it's on Steam that it'll be Stardew Valley probably also. But it's possible that they actually have Linux versions of those, though, even though. So yeah, so Linux and Windows games are different, but because they work on the same computer, there's a few things that they can do. Uh, Also with actual emulation. Actual emulation means emulating what the system does. So if you have a Windows emulator, it'll be emulating all the systems, all the commands and stuff in Windows. But anyways, yeah. So you can. I'm pretty sure some of your most popular games will actually run in Windows in some form, some way. So always look for see if there's a Linux version first, and then the other thing that you have to think about is that different Linux distributions are different. In other words, they won't necessarily run on the other version of Linux, uh, and it depends on uh, what their package manager is. It depends on which one they're based on. Like Mint is based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian. So it's like a third dealie. Linux Mint Debian Edition was based directly on Debian um, as a replacement, as a supposed drop-in replacement, just in case Canonical decides that they're going to do some non-open source stuff or something egregious, which means that they'll have to dump Ubuntu. But so far, it's been okay. So it's not like that. I don't know that there's an actual up to date Windows emulator that will emulate Windows 11 or 10. They're usually behind, so any actual Windows emulators, like I said, Wine is not even really an emulator. It's um, they translate somehow they translate the Windows commands to Linux because the actual the actual commands and stuff is machine language. In other words, it's able to convert the commands to the Linux version because it still works on the same hardware. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not really that knowledgeable when it comes to actual emulators and stuff. So yeah, so nobody's actually emulating Windows itself. They're just installing Windows programs and using a piece of software or a framework to actually be able to play them on your Linux machine. Yeah. Anyways, the first, okay, so the scene you're describing occurs in the pilot episode of MacGyver. Let's get back to my deal, even though I haven't actually started talking about my game yet. But what in this episode, MacGyver is urgently dispatched to a top secret underground research facility in New Mexico called Kiva Labs after a massive explosion trapped several scientists inside. The blast, which MacGyver later discovers was sabotage orchestrated by a rogue engineer named Charlie Burke, who wanted to steal research on weather modification via ozone layer manipulation, has caused a critical sulfuric acid leak from storage tanks. If not stopped, the acid will contaminate the local aquifer, poisoning the water supply for multiple states. MacGyver will infiltrate the collapsed facility through a series of hatches, including navigating a deadly laser security grid, using binoculars to reflect and redirect the beams, crawling through debris-filled vents, and crossing a room filled with toxic gas, where he rips his shirt to fashion a makeshift filter mask along the way. He encounters survivors, including assistant scientist Barbara Spencer, who joins him to locate two key Nobel Prize-nominated researchers, Dr. Sidney Marlowe and Dr. Victor Frawley. While descending through the levels, MacGyver spots a toppled vending machine and stuffs his pockets with chocolate bars from the scattered candy, initially joking to Spencer that it's for energy, but actually planning ahead for the leak. They eventually reach the acid tanks with just minutes to spare before the military floods the entire site with sodium hydroxide to neutralize the spell, a drastic measure that would kill everyone inside. To seal the leak, Spencer climbs onto MacGyver's shoulders to reach the corroding pipe crack high on the tank. She presses the chocolate bar, which contains disaccharides like sucrose and lactose, directly into the fissure. The hot sulfuric acid reacts chemically with the sugars, dehydrating them to produce a thick, gummy residue of elemental carbon and steam. The simplified reaction, and it says the chemical thing here. This carbon plug hardens and seals the crack, stopping the flow just in time. With the leak contained, MacGyver rescues Marlowe and Frawley from the sealed chamber using Morse code to Spencer's shoes to communicate to the rebel. Confronts and subdues Burke and escapes with the survivors via the elevator shaft jury-rigged with a makeshift pulley system. Outside, he prevents the military from bombing the site and exposes sabotage. This episode sets up MacGyver's signature style, improvising clever science-based solutions from everyday items under extreme pressure. Fun fact, Mythbusters later tested and confirmed the chocolate trick works in principle, though it realistically required far more than a handful of bars, around 40 pounds for a large industrial leak. So there you go. So that was the episode, okay? So, it's interesting that they're saying it works in principle, but it will require a lot more candy bar. So, you do have to have a little suspension of disbelief on a TV show or a movie, you know? Actually, it's kind of funny because sometimes you watch movies and they take the suspension of disbelief a little too far because even sometimes you even know even though you're not some scientific person or whatever, or know how certain things work, even you go, it's a little far-fetched. But anyways, so this is what you have to do every time you're writing an adventure game. So you're in a room, right? And you have to find a way out, or you have to stop something, or you have to open a door, or whatever. But so what I was trying to get to was the fact that when you're writing a game like this, you got to kind of do this. You got to go and go, well, okay, uh, if I'm trapped, let's say some bad guys trapped your protagonist, uh, and you're in a boat dock in a, what do they call it, like a boathouse, right? You're inside the boathouse at the dock where some let's say speedboats or motorboats are tied up to the dock there, and there are some oxygen tanks. For whatever reason, you need an oxygen tank for maybe for welding, maybe you need it for going underwater because you need to get underneath the boat somehow. So yeah, so you're kind of going in your head. You're going, okay, what does a boathouse have? Well, it has boats. It has maybe it has like you said, maybe it has some scuba gear. Maybe it has oxygen tanks. Maybe it has this, that, and the other thing, right? And so you have to think of, well, okay, he's tied to. Let's say they tie him to these large oxygen tanks because they know that you can't really go that far. Yeah, even if you could pull them over, uh, they'd be so heavy that you couldn't really do anything, and you might even hurt yourself doing so. But then you have to think to yourself, well, okay, so how do they get out of there if they're tied up to these oxygen tanks? Well, maybe the first thing is that you try to knock it over. Okay, so maybe that's the thing you do. And I'm not saying that I'm trying to come up with something that's you know, I'm not doing this for a game, so I'm kind of going. This is the thought process you go through when making an adventure game. You have to go, okay, so what's the problem I'm trying to solve? What are they trying to get into? What are they trying to get out of? What are they trying to solve? And then you go, okay, so they come to this room. What does this room have in it? Well, it's a bedroom with, it has a bed and maybe it's got a desk, maybe it's got a shelf of toys, maybe it's got a toy chest. Uh, so maybe it's a kid's bedroom or something. And the closet has some clothes, and so you're thinking, well, what kind of stuff do you have in this room? What can you make use of in this room? So that's why I was saying, okay, you're trying to get into the the school, and the first thing you're going to think about is that you're going to go, well, it's going to have a front door, probably maybe a back door, but it's definitely going to have a front door. Okay, you're going to try to get into the front door. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, maybe you need something. Maybe you can't push it open, but you want to get something that you could maybe pry it open or push it open or do something to get it to open. And so, what do? You wander around back, and you see the window in the back. You also look around, and you notice that there's you kind of go, well, there's a grounds. That means somebody's got to mow the lawn and keep the flowers and the bushes, the hedges trimmed and the flowers blooming and whatever. And they're gonna have a shed for sure because they're gonna have some tools in there. Um, you might have a scythe. If you're not in modern times and you're not in the real world, you're gonna have a scythe. You're gonna have some things that you can use, some clippers, some knife, a bar to pry stuff with, or whatever. You're gonna have some stuff. You're gonna go, okay, so um, I need a. Maybe I could use a pry bar. Maybe I could find something that I could use to knock the door down or pry open the door. Well, well, that remains to be seen. I get these ideas and they're really cool to me, and I don't know that anybody that I tell it to actually finds it that cool. Although a few, but and you're doing it mostly because you've heard the whole thing. So like I have all the main points in there, so it feels complete, right? Even though I still have a lot of stuff to kind of think up and stuff. But thanks for the compliment, though. I appreciate it. Um, okay, so yeah, so I have to do this for every location I have in there. This is what's taken so long. This is why it's taken so long. I agree. Maybe if I wasn't streaming it, I would just be working on it, and I wouldn't be talking. So I definitely would save some time there. So I'll probably get more done. Okay, which it might be an argument to stop the streaming stuff. Um, or I could just, the other thing that I could do probably is just stop really talking, stop spending my time talking, and just work on it on stream. But then, like Rookie, he always he likes to listen. He likes to put it on in the background, and so maybe you like to listen to me more than you like to watch me, right? Because watching me, it's kind of boring. I type stuff in and whatever, and I pretty much tell you everything that I do. So if I stop talking, then those people that would want to put it on the background or were interested in that wouldn't be watching anymore, and I have even less people having the stream on. So it's like I don't know. It's like this thing, this catch 22. If I stop doing what I'm doing, people won't come in. But as I'm doing the things I'm doing, it's so boring that people don't come in anyways, right? Except for you guys that actually like to come in here. And I usually get a couple more people on my coding side, on my part twos. partly because of the time, but also partly because they're not interested in the story. They're interested in programming, which is I totally get, right? You're interested in programming. That's why there are programmers that don't make games, so they just program because they like programming. Even if it's game programming, it's still just programming. In other words, if I need somebody to write a navigation algorithm for my game, I can get somebody. I could always find somebody, and I'd have to probably have to hire him with money, but I'm just saying I always find somebody that likes doing that sort of thing, that likes programming that, you know. So maybe not just a database programmer or something. Uh, you don't have to be more silent because anybody that's in the chat, I don't get that many people talking in chat, even when there's more people watching the stream. So you don't have to be more silent or whatever. You have questions, just ask them. I'm just talking about me talking because I can talk for hours. I can talk for days. I mean, that's just I can just do that. I don't know. It's almost like a woman, although I don't do gossip, so I'm not like a woman. Like I don't do gossip or whatever. But about my stuff and about things I watch and see and stuff, I can just talk for hours and hours and hours. You know, I don't even have to do anything. I can just do that. If I could get paid for doing that, uh, maybe I should start a channel and start telling stories that I make up. Start making up these stories, and then I'll just tell them online, and maybe people just tune in to watch that. That's actually not a bad idea. You know, it's like reading a book or whatever. I'm making up a story, and then somebody can watch me tell the story or whatever. But anyways, uh, you don't have to be more silent. It's fine. I don't get that much engagement in the chat, and so it's probably better if you do chat because occasionally there'll be somebody there that'll start talking to you, even if if I'm not paying attention sometimes or whatever. Anywho, so me talking might be taken away. Well, this is certainly taken away. I'm not even doing anything on the game at all. You know, I've got about 30 minutes left to do any actual work on my game here. Um, Somebody reacted to me, and then we got games from scratch. Okay, never mind. Anyways, that's just Discord stuff. Okay, so yeah. Um, so what was I getting to? Oh, I was just saying this is what takes so long. The two things that take so long is that you have to think of all your logical consistencies so that you don't come up with any real like plot holes later on. Um, and then it's like you have to think like MacGyver. You have to go in and say, okay, this is the problem. This is his location. Okay, what's in his location that he could use to solve his problem? You know, what do you have to do? In fact, my next thing, the thing that I'm working on right now is okay. So if you remember the story, Zanzibar is a magician. He's from our realm. He's a con artist. He's a thief. He has a pet crow named Corvus that actually literally does the thieving. He doesn't actually do the thieving. He wows people with his magic act, and then Corvus actually goes around and steals and is able to lift wallets and cut purses and whatever without them even knowing that they've been robbed because he's been trained to do that good. So um, he's running from the police. He ducks into this wizards convention. He thinks it's just another one of the like a fantasy thing or something convention in Las Vegas, and he ducks in with a group of traveling wizards, and the wizards happen to be returning back to Enchanted Lands, right? So that's how he gets in Enchanted Lands. And then when he gets inside Enchanted Lands, he realizes it's not being chased anymore, and he's kind of going, well, what kind of opportunities here? Can I make money off of people or whatever? Maybe I can start up my act in here, and nobody will know me, and so I'll be successful. And so that's what he starts doing. He starts doing these magic acts. Corvus steals stuff, and he gets rich. And before they even know anything is gone, missing, he's on to the next village, right? Just so happens that Max, um, Max needs a permit. Now, okay, so this is something that I didn't think of. It'll reduce it to be more frequent on that channel. It'll reduce the time you for game dev. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You have to be more frequent. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I mostly was saying it as a joke. Maybe I'll start a story channel, storytelling channel. Yeah, you never know. Kids might. I mean, it'd be. The only thing is it doesn't have to be a kids thing, but probably make it'd be kid friendly, and so I wouldn't be able to have comments on the channel, or I wouldn't be able to make much money off of ads and stuff. So, well, actually, I don't know how that works out, because if you say you're a kid channel, they stop a lot of stuff that really you want in a YouTube channel. Anyways, that doesn't matter. I'm being distracted. Okay, so my game here. So basically, um, Max. Okay, okay, this is something that ChatGPT came up with. ChatGPT came up with. I was saying. I was trying to think of what about doing magic tricks in a world that has magic in it, that's a regular place. How do I do that? I was trying to get to come up with ideas. One of them being that it's so mundane that um, that they haven't seen magic in a while, maybe any real magic performance. So when he does it, they think it's real magic, and they're wowed by it. Or maybe only certain people, like wizards, can actually practice magic legally or whatever. And so that was an idea that it gave it, that like maybe you can't do public spellcasting, public magic, right? So I was thinking, you know what? Max would probably do that because he wants to make sure that all of his bases are covered. He wants to make sure that his plans can go through. He can build this machine, and he can't be stopped by anybody. So maybe he would probably say lock down magic that nobody outside a few could actually do practice magic in Enchanted Lands, because he's afraid that somebody with magic is going to do something. And so Zanzibar, he comes in, and I just thought of this. Okay, so the original idea was that he does a show, and Max is as dazzled by it. He likes the show, and Corvus steals his money from him. And then, as he's on his way back to the castle, Max realizes he's been stolen from, and so he goes back to find him. So that's actually the part that's the deal there. Doing magic sounds better. Yeah. I didn't know my humor was this bad. Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Um, sometimes I'm up too, so whatever. Uh, okay, um, so I'm thinking of, okay, so what's the deal here? How does he find out about Max or about Zanzibar in the first place? Well, he probably doesn't. He's probably pretty busy. So I was figuring, well, maybe since ChatGPT gave me this idea that maybe that professional magicians, practitioners of magic, um, have to be permitted. They have to be permitted. They're restricted on what they can do, and Zanzibar has no permit, and he goes in and he does this anyways. In fact, that might be why people, villages all across Enchanted Lands actually like watching his show, because they don't get to see magic very often, uh, because Max had stopped any public displays of magic. So uh, so he doesn't have a permit, and so I figured that's a good reason. That, in other words, this is another thing I had to think of, but I didn't get it until I got that idea. That this is how he knows about magic. So he hears somebody that's doing these great magic shows, and that he's not supposed to be practicing magic. Well, uh, really he's not actually practicing real magic. So generally he's not doing an illegal act. But it still piques Max's interest, and he's kind of going, "Why is this guy defying me by openly doing magic? And how's he able to do that?" Well, of course, you might have to bribe the village, the town councils and the mayors and whatever of these villages, and so then I'm thinking, okay, so nobody would let him without a permit, but somehow he's able to do enough to for Max to be able to spot him. So I go, okay, I have to have a reason at least that he's able to do this with impunity, and I've come up with the fact that they're so thirsty for seeing anything magical because ever since Enchanted Lands has been effectively closed, they haven't seen a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, they know about Quicksilver and they know about whatever, but they don't have it in their like daily life unless they have a wizard among them. And so, that's where they like his shows, and so that's where they're able to look the other way. So you have a mayor that wants to be known. Maybe you have an election, and one of the candidates for mayor is essentially buying Zanzibar to do a show and show him some magic so that he can get the votes. Okay, maybe that would be one way. And the other way would be actually where Zanzibar has to pay somebody to look the other way, basically. Maybe you have an honest guy, but maybe he's a guy that goes by the rules usually, but he can be bribed. So you bribe somebody, right? So Zanzibar bribes somebody. If everyone could magic, then it wouldn't be that much of a thing. Yeah, yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking about because this is a real Magic Kingdom, right? And there are also different types of magic. There's portal magic. Portal magic is tied to Quicksilver. Quicksilver is a magical mineral that essentially um, it's what Enchanted Lands runs on. It runs on Quicksilver. So you can have magic mirrors. They can be two-way magic mirrors uh, that are made of Quicksilver and not just shiny polished glass. They actually it's made of glass that's infused with Quicksilver. We have flying trains, which means they can use the unrefined ore as coal. They can burn it and it provides lift. Scientific explanation. This is another thing. I have to think that up. I had to think up portal magic. Okay, so when Hubert is trying to get into Wizard University that's been closed down, it's been closed down, but so you can't get in there physically, but you also can't get in there magically because there's been some magic words placed on them. So, but there's a mouse in there who actually lives in he's in the dormitory. He basically lives in the school, and he's a practicing wizard. Well, actually, he was a vacation wizard. In other words, he was a mouse from another realm that was wanted to become wizard for the weekend or whatever. So he's learned a few things, a few spells and stuff, and he's able to do it. So Hebert encounters him, and then he shrinks him down to his size, and then he goes in through the mouse hole into the room, and then he resizes him, and then that's how he gets into the school. So I had a thing where I had written a deal where there was a trophy case and there was a scepter missing, without any signs of any tampering at all, physical tampering. So um, so I was trying to think of a way to come up with an idea as to why it would be missing because I didn't remember why I put that in the original notes. I just know that I put a trophy case in there because it's a school and they might have trophy cases, right? Whatever, it's like Hogwarts would have a trophy case for Quidditch, right? Quidditch trophies, right? But this trophy case, the scepter's missing, and he's trying to figure out uh, what's going on here, um, and how he did it. Now, I had to think up of how he is able to recreate the crime so he can see what was being done, and because Hebert has only part of his magic, it doesn't go right, so he has to use like several different methods stacked on top of each other to actually get a picture. But that's not the thing that I'm going to talk about. The thing I want to talk about here is the way the bad guy gets into the trophy case. And so I went, well, what if he made a mini portal? And that's my thinking was like he had a little mini portal that he's able to just big enough to reach his hand in and pull something out. And that's how he actually got it out of there. And so I had to so I was like, okay, so Um, what did he do to steal it? And I was going, he's building this big machine. Now he is an evil sorcerer, and that's the one thing that I didn't really think about, which I might have to go back and kind of finesse it a little bit. But so in order to okay, so I had to think of a way. What's how does portal magic work? How does Quicksilver work? And the idea is it works on intent, right? Okay, I'm not going to get to anything today, of course. And I'm explaining something that I did, like um, a month back or whatever. But um, so so I'm thinking, okay, so how does portal magic work? You get your magic ticket, and it's just basically you just need a piece of Quicksilver. It doesn't have to be a ticket. It could be a piece of ore. It could be a coin. It could be anything that is infused with Quicksilver in it. And you hold it or you have contact with it, and you have an intent of going somewhere, and then you make your intent known by speaking words out. So you speak these words like magic words, your destination probably, and the portal opens up to your destination and you walk through. So there's a couple of things going on here. One is it's big enough, it's just big enough for a person or a few people to walk through, right? If you have a bigger intention, if you have more people, you could probably open a bigger portal because you have more people to go through. Okay, so that's the logic of that's the science of magic, you might say, right? Um, so so that's the way that works, and I had to think of a because he has a he's making this giant machine that will open multiple portals to multiple realms, large enough for armies to march through. So he needs to build an actual machine that does what it does for you personally when you're holding a piece of Quicksilver and you're intending to go somewhere, right? To open a portal. So I had to think of, okay, so this is how portal magic works, and I'm thinking, well, what would a device be able to do that the magic does? And I was thinking, well, some pseudoscientific would be like maybe there's a frequency, right? Maybe it's a radiation. It's like radio is radiation, and microwaves are radiation, and it doesn't radiation doesn't necessarily have to mean like you're gonna get microwaves or something. But so it's like there's like a frequency, right? That reality oscillates on. Let's say it's a frequency that it oscillates on, and your mind helps direct. Your mind has okay, so your mind generates a certain frequency when you're thinking. You're thinking of a location that you want to go to. You're holding Quicksilver. The Quicksilver amplifies the frequency, and it aligns, and then it eventually opens a portal. And so, it's pseudoscience. It's not real science, and of course, magic's not real. At least I don't believe in actual magic for real. But uh, so the science is there's a frequency that's emitted when you're holding Quicksilver, and you have an intention, and you voice that intention, and a portal opens up. Okay, so uh, now it only opens a portal about the size of a person or several people, and it doesn't regularly open like small portals. It's not the way, that's not really the way it works. So he figures he's gonna make a device. Now he's making this giant machine, and so he's got a mechanism in this machine, and maybe got several of these devices that literally do what happens when you hold a piece of Quicksilver and you think of a location and you say the words that you want to go to that location. So this device, what it does is it resonates at certain frequency, and you have a dial on it, whatever, like a regular machine, like like a radio dial or something. You're tuning into the frequency, and then and then it it will open a portal because it's opening to the frequency of the location that you're trying to reach. And because this is doesn't have Quicksilver associated with it, it's a device that doesn't need Quicksilver. Now, in the game, in the story, he needs massive amounts of Quicksilver to amplify the effect, right? But he's going to be using these devices tuned to the frequency of different locations, and then he's going to use the massive amount of Quicksilver to amplify that signal to be able to open huge portals, multiple portals, large enough for armies to march through, right? But he's using this test of he's this proof of concept. He's got this little prototype device. So he goes into Wizard U. He doesn't have to sneak into there because he's the one that set the locks there in the first place. So he can get in and out with no problem. But he goes in there and he turns on this device, turns the frequency on, and he opens a small enough portal because the device is small. He opens the small enough portal that he can stick his hand through, grab the scepter, pull it out, and then turn it off, and then leave. And none of the magic words are tripped, so you don't know by magic what happened here. That's why Hebert has to recreate it. So okay, so what was I saying this for? I was saying this for because I had to come up with a science. I had to come up with a magic world also have science. Well, science is just the study of things. So the idea about this quote unquote science of magic is basically knowing how the magic works. So in my pseudo logic, whatever, that it's not science as in they're not using electricity. In other words, they might have lights, but the lighting orbs come from a quicksilver filament, in a bulb, and then the magic mirror has to be made out of quicksilver. It has to be infused with quicksilver, even if it's glass, in order to work. So there are scientific explanation for how the magic works. That's really all I'm doing. So magic literally means the acts that defies the rules of science. Yeah, you could probably define it that ways. All I'm meaning by a science is I'm meaning a how it works. So basically, science is the study of things. So if you were to study magic, you would find out how it works, and it works like this, like there's an emanating frequency that you have to align with by using Quicksilver to open a portal, for instance, and there's not really any real scientific backing to my logic it's just a logic I made up that sounds scientific, that sounds logical, right? Even though it can actually happen that way, it sounds valid, right? Okay. So, anyways, the thing that I was getting at is, I have to think about how things work and how everything works, and so, I have to kind of do the same process with this upcoming thing. So Zanzibar, he's escaped through the deal. They're not supposed to perform magic. He gets away with performing magic, but they're magic tricks. So yeah, he's actually an illusionist, right? From our world, right? So you go to watch a magic show, and all of those aren't real magic; they're illusions. And he's really, really good at it. And then so he gets big enough that Max gets interested in saying, "Why is this guy defiantly using magic when I told everybody they can't use magic?" So he goes to a show to see what's going on, and he lets the show go on. The show's really good. He leaves to go back to see what to do about him, because he knows he can probably catch up to him later. just by following where his shows are going. Realizes he's been stolen from, right? And then so now he's really mad. So he has to go back and find where Zanzibar is going next. He doesn't actually know where Zanzibar is going next right now. He doesn't have his spies with him or whatever, and he just come off of a show. So it's not like he instantly knows where he's at. It's that later on he can find out where he's at, but he wants to find him now, and Zanzibar's already moved on to another village. So this is the thing. I have to come up with this thing. I have to come up with okay. He catches up with him, and so what is where did Zanzibar go? What's he doing? How do I find clues to where he's at? You know, I have to think of all this stuff. So that's what I was saying. I was just saying this. It takes a lot of time to think of that stuff up. That's why I use the AI a lot. Anyways, so now you're kind of you know what I'm up against as far as how long it's taking, and of course it's super boring for people, and that's why I'm contemplating stopping the streaming. I might not stop the streaming, or I might stop the streaming and um, you know maybe I'll do it like once a week or something. Maybe I don't know for sure what I'm doing, but so so yeah so that's where we're at right now, and that's why it takes so long. And so I'm still contemplating. Well, should I stop the streaming and just so I can just focus on? I'll still be recording the development, um, but it'll make it a lot harder. Well, actually, it won't make it a lot harder because you know what I'm doing lately. I can keep doing it this way, which is not very good either because not many people watch my updates either. But I basically recorded a little. This is what I did today at the end of the day, and I show the progress I made. So um, I could probably still potentially do that if I decided just to record my development, not talk or anything, and just record it, and then later make my updates. And I could use the same method. They're still not very good though, so I still need to be able to work on my devlogs. Maybe if I could do the devlogs good, I might would go ahead and stop doing the streams and just do really good devlogs every so often and get through this and make this happen. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of thought of that. I won't be showing you everything that I do. It'll only be showing you what I'm doing at that on that day. Um, Now, if I end up recording every day, even even my stream days, um, don't get discouraged by the views. Yeah, this is one of those things, right? Uh, it's important. I want people to watch, come in and watch, right? I can't make people watch boring stuff, and you know you just can't. You have to make it more interesting. And the other thing is okay. So I got about 20% done. Do I want to do the rate 80% at the rate that I've been doing it, where I'm taking months, and so it might even take years before I get through the stupid first phase. This first phase was originally supposed to be super short. It's supposed to be only a few months. In fact, I was originally supposed to take my outline, and then I was supposed to shrink it down into like smaller pages, like you know maybe let's say down to 10 pages. I had 93 story beats, 93 pages. You know, they weren't full pages. They're like lines. They're a couple lines, changes in scene, basically. Um, so I had 93 of those. I should have taken those. Uh, I should have grouped them into like 10 pages, and then I could have done my couple of interesting choices there, and then I could move on to phase two, and then I could expand it. And that's what I had originally intended to do. But I was doing this ways, and I before I knew it, I was deep into making these choices and stuff, and I'm like, this is gonna take forever, and it should have taken forever. In fact, this the whole point of doing the phases was so that I could build on it little by little, eventually getting the thing that I wanted to. Because the before, um, shoot, my time is up today for at least for part one, so I have to break now and come back in an hour. But anyways, real quick, uh, yeah, the original idea of doing the phases was so that I could build on the phases a little bit at a time. So because whenever I tried to make these games before, this game in particular, I would always get a certain point. I do some programming, I get stuck, then I put it on the back burner, and then I went and look at it, and then I come back and maybe I do something else, and I tried several times to start it, and I just couldn't get my head wrapped around like locations and how everything looks and what they do and all this stuff. And so I figured if I did it in phases, and I started with the most basic adventure game, which is choose your own adventure, and then I built on it, and then I added, I grouped pages by location, so that all the pages are in one file, even though it's technically not that much different. Uh, that's okay. So I'll give you this last minute or two, and then I'll go take my break, and I'll see you tomorrow or later, or whatever, whenever you come back. But so um, what was I saying? Um, yeah, the phases. Okay, so the first phase is choose your own adventure deal. The second phase is taking locations and putting them into one file, because essentially you're gonna have a room, right? You have let's say you have the living room of your house. I don't know if in India, if you call them living room, it's your main room, like a den or something. Okay, I will. Um, so you have a living room. A living room is its own location. Now, uh, there's no state saving in here. So if I turn on a light switch, uh, I can't remember that I turned on the light switch later on, because I'm not saving a state for the room at this on this phase. So you might have a deal where the light's already on. You have the lights off. You switch it on, and it's got to remain on until you switch it back off again. You're not going to switch it back off again, but later on you're going to become okay. So the living room, just like the rest of the world, I guess, whatever. But so you turn on the light switch, or you turn on a lamp in the living room, and then you leave. And then when you go back, the light is still supposed to be on unless you turn it off, right? But I don't have a way to save the state right at this point. So I'm going to have to make sure that uh, when I come back to the room, it's not going to be off again. It's going to be on again, because I'm not going back to the same room. I'm going back to a secondary page that says the light's on instead of the light being off. You know. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to group pages in a single location that maybe has different deals, and they're going to be in one file at this point. It's still going to act the same way. It's still going to act like I have a bunch of different rooms and whatever before I do the save state system. But then later on, I'm going to add a save state system. And you're going to have the living room, and it doesn't. You can turn on and off the light switch, and you don't need multiple pages to go back to the same location. So that was the whole thing. So it evolves. Eventually, I'm going to add a parser into there, so it's going to be a proper text adventure with inventory, puzzles, and everything. And then I'm going to start adding graphics. Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to tell you real briefly that the phase system was intended for me to do step by step and a little bit each time till I get a finished game. And here I am doing like the whole story, and I'm spending ages and ages on just phase one. So, whatever. Anyways, I'll see you later whenever you come back later, and for everybody else, I'll see you in about an hour when I come off my break, and we'll be working on the layout tool some more. So, thanks for watching part one, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you for watching part one.